Apparently it is the year of the horse, but in Zenless it is the year of the Void Hunters, and with that, YIXUAN is back as well. But is she still worth it for you? Well, the short answer is yes, but also it depends. So today, let's talk about her actually not that complicated kit and how she plays her best weapons, distress and disdrive sets, her combos, her main and substats, her teams and mindscapes, and lastly, let's also talk about her pros and cons. Welcome! I'm Rivenous and this is your complete updated in-depth guide to YIXUAN. YIXUAN is an Auric Ink Rupture DPS, and because Auric Ink is basically Ether but golden, she might as well simply be a shiny Ether Rupture DPS. YIXUAN deals a majority of her damage during the stun window and is hence very reliant on those, so let's have a look on why that is. But first, let me tell you about my favorite and today's video's sponsor. LD Shop is a safe and reliable top-up site for your favorite games, such as zzzero, Honkai Star Rail, Withering Waves or Genshin Impact. Created by LD Player, LD Shop offers you affordable prices, even up to 30% off, through official ways and does not require any account credentials. Your server and UID are enough. Spend over $80 and you get to claim an internet membership for free every month. LD Shop is trustworthy, provides a fast delivery within minutes, and as you can see by the huge amount of positive reviews, is also safe and reliable. To make sure you can safely acquire your new favorite agent and don't have to worry about losing the ugly 50-50, go and claim your deals directly today, before it is too late. So go directly to ldshop.gg using my link in the description or pinned comment and save money today. Use my link and you will receive a 15% off and a 5% off coupon. Thank you LD Shop for sponsoring this video. YIXUAN's core skill explains you what shear and shear force are, so we will skip this part. At most, once every 10 seconds, triggering an Auric Ink anomaly will restore 10 adrenaline, with each perfect dodge restoring 5. If you have adrenaline, 66.7% of it is converted into YIXUAN's unique resource, talismans. Her talismans are, as per usual, indicated right below her HP bar and capped out at 120. That is this bar on the left. In addition, she also features this yin and yang symbol next to the bar, which is called Auric Ink Point, and it will glow orange if you have it available. We will talk more about this later on. To round up her core skill, lastly, she also gains a 60% damage bonus for, well, all of these skills. As for additional ability, she requires either a stun, support or defense character, or in other words, it will always be active. When any teammate uses an ultimate, she will recover 20 adrenaline over 10 seconds, and when she is switched out into a perfect assist, she will also cast a Thunderbolt, which will deal sheer damage and also generates 5 adrenaline. Furthermore, she gains an additional 30% damage bonus for 2 of her EX specials. We can keep her basic attacks pretty basic. She features a 5-part attack string and we will use them. Just as normal basic attacks restore energy, so do hers restore adrenaline and we will actively use them. But there also is not really much more special to say about them. YIXUAN features 2 important dodge inputs, well, and a funny one. Simply holding her dodge button while also inputting any movement will have her enter this cool movement state, rarely applicable in actual combat, but it also should be mentioned. More importantly, however, holding her dodge button without any movement input will then cast her Ink Whale Cloud Coalescence, which deals AoE Auric Ink damage and will also automatically follow up with her basic 5 when finished. While this is a great way of grouping enemies, it is not really much used outside of it. As for her second important dodge input, do you remember this little point, the Auric Ink point? Well, if you have one, holding dodge without any movement input will then cast an enhanced version of this previously mentioned Inkwell Cloud Coalescence. That one is called Auric Array, which will channel for up to 3 seconds as well and restores also 21 adrenaline during this time, while also dealing AoE damage. But more importantly, it will also slow down time for enemies within, which is super important for certain phase skips such as for Miasma Priest. At the end of the cast, she will automatically unleash a basic attack Qingming Eruption. This attack behaves essentially the same as her basic attack Inkwell Cloud Coalescence and is effectively just a stronger version of it. And as you might have just noticed, I technically lied to you. All of these inputs are not actually dodges, they are basic attacks, deal basic attack damage. But they use the dodge button as an input to do so, and this will be a recurring trend for Yizhuan as well, as we will see later on. As for our actual dodge and dodge counter, well, they do what they are supposed to do, and also work as we would expect them to work, so instead let's talk about her two ultimates, plural. The first ultimate requires 3000 decibels, deals a great amount of damage, and will also evenly redistribute the HP of the team between all teammates. But there also is nothing more special about it. Her second ultimate, on the other hand, requires 120 talismans. Again, that is her unique resource which we can acquire by spending her adrenaline. It will also deal a great amount of damage and evenly distribute the HP of the team as well. And lastly, will also grant her one of this said Auric Ink Point. It will also be prioritized over her normal ultimate when the condition is met. It is also one of the very few ultimates in the game, as of right now that is one, that can actually be animation cancelled, but we will talk about this during the combo section. For now, we will skip her assist follow-up, dash attack, quick assist and chain attack, because they do what they are supposed to do, and instead let's talk about her EX specials. Her first EX special costs her 40 adrenaline, is used by pressing her EX special button, and can and also should be used to parry enemy attacks, because doing so will refund 10 adrenaline. You can either press the EX special button for an immediate parry if timed well, or hold the EX button to charge it up and parry a bit later. When let go, it will then cast a wing up attack, and if the skill has been fully charged or parries an attack, it will deal additional damage. It should also be noted that this EX special can parry red flash attacks or even AoE abilities. Regardless, we can press her EX special again to follow up with another EX special, and we can press it for a third time at the additional cost of 20 adrenaline to follow up with a special EX version of her basic attack Qingming Eruption. This essentially boils down to press or hold EX to parry, then press EX twice more, or in other words, simply smash your EX button. Lastly, a successful parry with her EX special is also considered as triggering a perfect block. But just as holding her dodge will cast a basic attack, so will holding her basic attack cast an EX special. Holding down the basic attack will channel her EX special Cloud Shaper, which will consume up to 60 adrenaline, 20 for the initial activation, and up to an additional 40 adrenaline over time. However, we do require at least 40 adrenaline to cast it in the first place. At the end of the channel, it will then automatically be followed up with her EX special Ashen Ink Becomes Shadows, which still is a very cool name. Anyway, this EX special can technically trigger a Vital View dodge if timed correctly when the enemy attacks, but we are honestly better off using this during the stun window and refer back to our first EX special or dodge counter to handle parries and enemy attacks. Both of these two skills will deal 30% more damage when the enemy is stunned, and because of that we want to use it during the enemy stun window. And that honestly already covers the kit, so let's quickly summarize it. We use her basic attacks and dodge counters to generate adrenaline. Then we use her pressed EX special to parry enemy attacks and spend said adrenaline to generate talismans. At 120 talismans, we can then use her alternative ultimate once, which will also grant us one Auric Ink Point. We can hold her dodge button without any movement input to then consume said Auric Ink Point to cast her Auric Array. Out of stun, we utilize her basic attacks, dodge and dodge counters as well as her EX specials to generate and spend adrenaline respectively. Because we want 3000 decibels as well as 120 talismans during the stun window, we will also utilize her parries and assist follow-ups to generate decibels. During the stun window, we want to use both of her ultimates as well as her held basic EX special to optimize our damage output. And because her stun combo is honestly rather interesting, we will talk more about it during the combo section. Most of Yizhuan's damage comes from her ultimates as well as her EX specials, and because her core skill grants her a good chunk of damage bonus for basically her entire kit, as per usual we focus on it first. Then prioritize her EX special and chain, then basics and assist, and lastly dodge. Frankly, because we will basically use her entire kit, I would highly recommend to level up all of her skills to level 11 and ideally bring her EX and chain to level 12. We require at least 81, but ideally 100 talismans as well as close to 3000 decibels before entering the stun window. We hold her basic attack to cast her EX special and fill up our talismans up to 120. Then we let go of her basic attack, and the moment we see the explosion pop up, indicated by this glowing X mark, we press her alternative ultimate. This will trigger the chain prompt while Yizhuan is in her ultimate and allows us to retrigger the chain using our stunner's chain attack, which in turn makes sure we have ideal uptime on King of the Summit while we do not have to use any time for the ultimate animation. We then select Yizhuan again, use her chain attack and then cancel the chain. We press her regular ultimate and then continue to hold our basic attack for further EX special channels until the stun window is over. There are less ideal stun combos as well as alternative combos which are much more specific, especially in terms of application, but if you plan on playing Yizhuan, I would simply highly recommend you to head into the VR training and practice this combo because it will massively increase your scores. And because of that, I will not provide any alternative simpler combos. It really looks more complicated than it is. Let's talk about her weapons. Her signature is her best in slot and I would highly recommend getting it. However, if you are short on polychromes, well, the LD shop link is in the description. Okay, jokes aside, the Event W engine from last patch is her next best choice. If you literally just started right now, Steel Cushion will do as well, however, and if all strings break, I guess the craftable puzzle sphere will serve. Not well that is, but it will serve. As for her sets, a 4-piece Yonko Tails is frankly her only choice, and for the 2-piece, either Woodpecker or Branch and Blade will do. Woodpecker makes her much easier to build and is probably better for most people, but Branch and Blade has the much higher damage potential and is what you should aim for if you want to get the most out of your Yizhuan. I would not recommend other options over any of those two. If your substats can afford it, crit damage in slot 4, ether damage in slot 5 and HP percent in slot 6 are her best choices. If you don't have a good chunk of crit rate substats however, crit rate in slot 4 can be the better choice, but with a lower potential. HP percent in slot 5 works as well, but is usually worse. As for her substats, focus on crit rate until a maximum of 100%, then crit damage followed by HP percent and lastly flat HP and attack percent. Both her M1 and M2 are great, providing a good damage increase overall. Her M1 grants her 10% additional crit rate, which makes building her much easier. She will also start combat with 120 talismans, which allows you to open combat with her talisman ultimate and hence a 40% crit damage boost from her additional ability. Furthermore, she will also cast Thunder Strikes every 6 seconds, which generate 5 adrenaline each, which means up to 30 Thunder Strikes per deadly assault run, or in other words 150 adrenaline per run for free. This free adrenaline should honestly not be underestimated and can help massively with resource management and easily allows for 1 or 2 additional EX specials outside of the stun window. These additional EX specials can also lead to another ultimate, which essentially means you do not only get the additional Thunder Strikes, but also up to 2 more ultimates from this Mindscape, depending on how you play that is. As for her M2, first of all, it essentially unlocks a 6th EX special for you, which you can cast once after her Talisman ultimate and it will deal a good amount of sheer damage. Secondly, casting her first ultimate during the stun window will then also extend the enemy stun duration by 3 seconds, and she also gains 15% ether rest shred for her ultimates and EX specials on top of that. If you have her M2, you'll want to press the basic attack button at the end of the EX special detonation to trigger her new M2 EX special. Because this is considered an EX special, it will also profit from the 15% ether damage shred as well as the 60% damage bonus from her core. Her M3 and M5 exist, and her M4 reads honestly better than it is. Because we already have 90% damage bonus from both her cores on these skills as well as teammate buffs and her slot 5 ideally, adding an additional up to 60% to that does not actually change that much in comparison. Lastly, her M6 allows you to obtain an additional ultimate 2 whenever we cast her ultimate 1, which we can cast at the very end of our stun rotation, and on top of that, she also gains an effectively 20% permanent sheer damage bonus as well, and because it's a separate damage multiplier, it is really good. Honestly, a good stopping point is her M2, but if you want to go all the way to M6, well, her M6 is pretty good. Frankly, YIXUAN has quite a few team options, but I would rather focus on her best choices. If you have Dialyn, well, Dialyn is very good for YIXUAN. In fact, it is her best teammate, and if she is not occupied by another team of yours, I would recommend picking her. The same can be said for Lucia as well, of course. If you don't have any of those, however, Jufufu, Trigger and Jingyi will do their job as well, and if you don't have Lucia, both Astra and Panyahe can do their job. As a special side note here, Trigger does not get her additional ability in this team, and her W engine also doesn't do anything. If you decide to play Trigger, I would recommend either Teapot or Restraint on her instead. As for Jingyi, it is arguably YIXUAN's best stun option outside Dialyn, but also not super easy to play, especially more so when compared to Jufufu or Trigger. If you are free to play or a new player, Kolleda and Panyahe will do their job, but you will notice a stark difference in score between her best teammates and, well, those two. Pros and cons. YIXUAN is still very good and can also do super well into non-rupture matchups such as Marionettes or even Fiend, which can be a point to consider, especially if you don't have Alice or Jane, don't like Piper, or simply are missing a lot of anomaly agents on your account. She also is the best Ether DPS in the game, outside of Vivian that is, but Vivian is more of a sub DPS. She has very high damage potential, but with a few caveats. First, she is not the easiest character to learn and optimize, albeit her skill floor is somewhat-ish in the low to mid range. Second, she really likes Lucia, and for that matter either of Dialyn, Jufufu, Trigger or Jingyi as well. Third, she also really likes her signature weapon, and lastly, I think it is probably worth mentioning, that she is now approaching 7 months of her release, and if Miyabi is a trend to go by, there is a good chance that she might be phased out soon. Or in other words, possibly get anti-shield. That is speculation, however. And with that, we are at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment on your thoughts on YIXUAN and whether or not you will pull for her weapon, and join the Discord. A special thanks to my YouTube and Patreon members who make this content possible. If you wish to support me, you will find a link to my Patreon in the description, or click the join button right below this video. And as always, I appreciate all of you and wish you a great day. Peace!